Welcome to Life Stories series of podcasts. In this episode, Miles is talking to Tommy Carson. Tommy, who is 99, has the most amazing memory. He was brought up in the Grassmarket in the 1920s, and he paints a very colourful picture of life at that time. It was a time of great poverty, poor housing and living conditions, no work or apprenticeships. He had an unemployed father who spent his time in the pub, and a hard-working mother who had 4 or 5 cleaning jobs to keep the family together, leaving Tommy and his sister to fend for themselves. We hear of Tommy's school days attending St Ignatius school and the games he and the other children played in the street. We also get to meet some of the characters he knew, such as Monkey Mary and her barrel organ, Tony Dimambro and his ice cream van, and a Frenchman with a bear who came into the Grassmarket from Corstorphine. Sit back and enjoy.
Let's start with the fact that you actually weren't born in Edinburgh, were you?
No, I was actually born in Glasgow, but I think my mother was visiting there, because she couldn't get quick enough to get back to Edinburgh so I could be born in the West Bow, you know. Yes, I was born in Glasgow, Stirling Street or something.
Oh, right. So
And I was poor then too, you know. It was just the same. I mean, my mother came here. And I remember when I was a child, I was just thinking there, when I was about 4-year-old, down the bottom of the street, the West Bow to the Cowgate, there was a lady selling chestnuts, hot chestnuts, at night. And there were a lady at the top of the West Bow, Auntie Marquis, she was selling mussels from New Haven with the creel on her back. And they're supposed to have weighed 100 weight.
they were tough women.
You know, but they never had clothes like us. They wore the New Haven clothes. And I don't know if they spoke that language because I never come into them. I saw them, kind of said hello to them, but you only saw them when they come selling stuff. Yes, and everybody was poor. We had nothing. At the bottom of the street, it must have been about 4 or 5 going to school. I think you went to school between 4 and 5. And we went down to a hotel at the bottom of the West Bow where I lived. And my mother used to give me a halfpenny or a penny to go in every morning and get my porridge. Because my mother was out cleaning stairs, working houses, because my dad wasn't working. You know, that was before I went to school. And she went in the morning, 5:30, all the women going out to clean houses and offices. It was like the Waverley Station. Hello, Maggie, Nellie, Annie, listen. It was packed. People were talking, and they called you by your, not your own surname. If you were married, your name was Mary Dixon. They called you Mary Dixon. No, your husband's name. Hey, Mary Dixon, come here.
Is that right?
They called you by your married name.
God.
Never called you, but that's what they did. That was habit.
Right. So they called them by their maiden name, not their married name.
So, maiden name,
Right.
Ken wouldn't call you Mary Dixon.
Yeah.
Mary, what was your first name again? Henderson. Married name. They didn't fancy their men.
Right, yeah.
Yes, it was. I was just thinking the other day, went to this hotel and we got porridge for a halfpenny or a penny. They gave you it in the morning because they knew. Because some of the women used to go tatty picking potatoes into the field in East Lothian and places like that. And leave their kids on their own. They had to, and nothing else to do, because the women were, they were homemakers.
So those women that went tatty picking, did they get picked up in a lorry or something in the morning?
Yeah, I was going to tell you that. They were called tatty howkers. And if you wanted to go, you had to be in the Grassmarket by a figure saying at 5 o'clock in the morning, and you'd form a queue, or 6 o'clock, whenever it was. You'd form a queue, and they'd put you into a lorry. You came in with your friends, and they took you away, and you came back about 4 at night. Now, that must have been injurious to people for their backs and that.
It's hard work.
Oh, it is. I mean, you can't do your garden. But all the same. And then, when I went to the hotel, I got them there. And across the road from the hotel in the Cowgate, opposite was a poor house. They had a place where women could take no money coming in, no wages or nothing, no work in the house, came in and got a lunch. The bad ones, the really bad, the derelict ones, they came in for their food during the day. Didn't cost them anything because they had nothing because their dads all left them in those days. They just left them. Italians lived in and were just coming over, you know.
So a lot of poverty at that time in the Grassmarket.
Poverty, there was nothing else. There were no jobs. But the school, the education was great. Nobody likes to go to school, nobody likes to work. But you have to go. It's like a police, unnecessary evil. Your dad wasn't working, he was away drinking, Ken. Penny a pint, 3 halfpence a pint, 2pence a pint, 2pence for a glass of whiskey, 2pence halfpenny or so. Come on, I mean, the wages were only £1 a week, if they were £1. The tatty hawkers would be getting a shilling a day. But I mean, that's all you had.
Yeah.
See, you had a shilling, and before they came, you had nothing. You had nothing at all. And you weren't looking for anything. And I never stole it for you, because you had nothing, and I had nothing. What could I steal? And if I did, it was necessary. My family was starving. I'm talking about the adults, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But the kids used to hear their mum and dad arguing, as they do. The mum and dad arguing over money. And they never told them to get a job, because there were no jobs. No apprentices, and nobody knew. When I went to school in my latter years, there were very few people coming out to go to apprenticeships. Painters, decorators, carpenters, anything like that. But one or two were a wee bit scholar in them. The teacher always helped them, which is only right, because you have to nurse it. You know, you've any education, you have to help it. But the poor, very poor. And if anybody gave you a threepenny, a wee silver threepenny bit, that's the funny thing about it. If somebody gives you a threepenny bit, you've got to change 6 pennies or 12 halfpennies, Ken. You wouldn't get change, so you had money to spend in your pocket and you're only a bairn. But if they give you a penny, you got 2 halfpennies for it. Because you can get 2 things, sweeties, instead of 1 for a penny, 2 for a penny, a halfpenny each time, you know.
Yeah.
You had it all figured out. And yes, it was famished and poor and disabled. And we're a poor house. Craig House, that was a poor house. Used to wear grey suits, it was terrible. But see, I didn't know that.
And let's establish the fact that you were born in 1922.
22, October the 3rd.
So we are talking here, your memories, these early memories are in the 1920s we're talking about.
I can start in the 1920s. My mother used to send me down the road. She was away, no tatty out, and cleaning houses and 3, 4, 5 jobs a day, different places. 19s a day or something.
But she kept things going, your mother. She was the kind
Oh,
of...
well, most of them were, because the women weren't allowed into pubs. They had what they called a jug bar, so you could go down and get the jug filled and take it away. But if a woman came in, above your uncle, get out. Mind you, as you know yourself, you're ready, but women didn't get equal rights till the war started. Because when they come back, the man expected her to still stay in the house with 3 or 4 kids, she said. You too. You know, that's what life is.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't help you if you can't help yourself. I can't help myself, never mind you, you know what I mean? That was attitude, but you just carried on. And we're very poor. My dad, he liked it. Well, price of drink was a penny a pint. If the barman knew him, he gave him tick. Pay him Friday when he got his brew money. With 3 shillings a week to keep the house.
So which school did you go to, Tom?
I went to St Ignatius.
Right.
And I've got photographs to show you.
Right.
Not of me.
No.
Both girls and that. We went to school. My sister was one. Castle Hill.
Oh, yeah.
1929.
Right.
41 in the class. Do you mind Mary Dabo? I said, and the Italian office was up. And I explained it. You remember us? She's only too well. She palled about with my sister, because my sister was older than me. The poor house for the poor in the cow was called Kitchen for the Poor.
Right.
And it was in a house, a big room in a house up there. Big room and had tables and that.
Right.
And we're all Italians nearly.
Really?
And they were lovely people. I grew up with them.
Yeah, of course you did. So were there a lot of Irish in the Grassmarket as well, Tommy?
Yes, we're rotten with it. Friday night, did your mother come from Ireland, you know, and I got stuck into it. But it was poor. Yes, it was drastic times in those times because there were no jobs for your dad.
Yeah.
And the dad was supposed to be the home...
The provider.
Oh, aye. He was supposed to be because they were all drinking and they all led a different life. And everybody lived in derelict houses in a room and kitchen. A room and kitchen. And anybody who had a big family, I'm talking about 6, and only had a room and kitchen, they made one of the rooms, 2 rooms, by putting a blanket middle of the room, one for the boys, one for the girls. That's what they done in the days. And I mean, people tell these stories about getting a cup of sugar. I never have seen anything like that.
Right.
Nobody came up for that. Maybe they did, but it was an off thing. I mean, people did help you. They knew you had no sugar because you were the same as me. You were skint. They weren't fighting. Fighting was the police thing.
So where you lived, I mean, fortunately, you were. It wasn't a big family. They're just you and your sister.
No, 4 family, mother and father.
So your place wasn't so bad then, was it?
No, I'm in the Grassmarket.
Yeah.
See, I'm in an opening coming into Edinburgh, an entry into Edinburgh, and the toll was up from England, for example.
Yeah.
Coming from, you came through Toll Cross into the toll, and you came in, whether they paid you or no, I think they did, but you came through Grassmarket, and at one end was the West Bow, the Cowgate, Candlemaker Row, and at the other end was Westport, the Venel, and 3 entrances, 6 altogether, and they were all exits and entry from Edinburgh.
Ah, right.
It got you out. No matter where you went in Grassmarket, you got out.
Yeah.
King's Stables Road,
Of course.
where the Kings and had their stables for horses and joist in the games.
Now the Venel goes up to
Goes up Lorison Place.
Right. Yeah.
Goes up to Graham Street, Graham and Grey Street, we call it. Graham Street, right into Lorison Place, and the infirmary was there.
Of course.
And it was handy again. They were all going up. You went in, if you got your finger off, or just scratch it, you went in the infirmary, they took you in, gave you your airway and sent you home. Nowadays you have to get an appointment for scratching your finger. Oh no, the doctor's busy, you know. They looked after you in a way, but...
So the Grassmarket was your playground as a child?
Oh yes, grass. We played football. We played the games, every game we played in there.
Yeah, go through those games, Tommy. What? Tell us.
The games. Well, first of all, the most famous all football.
No.
They played football at Grassmarket. Across the way, and if it's a load of us, up and down the Grassmarket, came maybe 12 a side, and across the side, across the road broad, and there were a number bus passing down there, and number 2, and it's the only one which still does.
That's right.
We used to, drivers used to stop for us and everything, and plenty shops, and the girls used to play and all. Oh, you can't. We used to play in the street, sit in the street, and the cobblestones, move some of the grout out.
Right.
And pay with your marbles and get them into the hole you made. Marbles, you called it, things like that.
Yeah.
And there were some size and some other big ones.
Yeah.
And if I chap for a big one, I'll give you 3 wee ones for it. Marbles. And it was just the same as today, only they're more educated and graft. But yes, that was me going to getting my porridge. Yeah. And across the road was a poor house. It was mostly Italians. And behind there was called the Pend, Metropolitan. It was a lodging house.
Right.
And other personalities used to go there. Monkey Mary, we had donkey. She used to, at night, put it in. She used to go Ainsley Place at the West End. You know what we would do? Feed her donkey, but not feed her, the people, in Ainsley Place. That was the toffs. She used to go around with her donkey and play the barrel organ.
Aye, yeah, I've got pictures of that.
Yes, well, I knew her well.
Did you?
Aye, Dunlop was her married name.
That's right. And what was her maiden name, did you say?
Capaldi,
right.
the Rockapolo days, or Gargaros, or mine now. I have to look it up now. But they were all that, tell you. They were good.
Yeah.
But they came away, they had nothing.
And did some of them open, because Italians are famous for chip shops and ice cream and that?
I went to St Ignatius school, and every dinner time, a man used to come with a cart with ice cream, and he was called Tony Dimambro, a bigger the elephanto, a bigger the, and this is you out, and we used to go, and 9 times out of 10, mind we don't know, I'm talking about a poke, a halfpenny and a penny, but some children didn't have it, and those who were a bit of a terrorist stuck their hand in the freezer and done them, and had the ice cream. And he said, you tell the teacher, Tony Dimambro will give a big, no steal. They loved them. They loved them. I was out looking for them at dinner time. And across the road, I'm on to the kids again.
Yeah.
In my primary school. Was another school, All Saints, they were Protestants. And we used to go in there for our dinner during the day for a penny. Or 3 halfpence. You went to, because they had a dining hall. We didn't. I was educated by big Miss Thompson and wee Miss Thompson. They were sisters. One was older than the other one, and nuns. And the toilet was in a classroom. You had to go through a classroom to do the business again. And you say, shut the door. You know, I mean, it's actually happened. Yeah. You don't find it in books, but it does. And I mean, everybody's toilet was outside the door. Everybody. Nobody knew about plumbing and that.
So did you share your toilet, Tommy?
Pardon?
Did you share the toilet?
Yes. My mother used to say, we've been up in the toilet. And if you go to the toilet, see if there's any paper. Because what she did was, no toilet paper, she got a newspaper and cut them into squares, put a hole in, piece of string, hang them up for a nail, and you had to tell her when that was finished in the toilet. You know, and they had it all worked out. And the windows were all broken till let air in. They were all broken. You found everybody's. And then they built in 1926, I think it was. But they had all that, they had nothing. And I lived in a place, and I don't know how they allowed people living in there, called the wooden stair, made of wood. One touch you.
Yeah, fire. So describe what your actual flat was like. What was it like inside?
A room and kitchen.
Right.
Room and kitchen. And my mother used to wash my sister and me Friday night on the table with a basin, or put us at the window where there was a bunker. Stand us on the wash me first, I wash my sister, and then she had to put her knickers on, and then put me on, things like that. But you had to do it because you had nothing else. And my mother was a kind of a Puritan, mind you, she could look after herself, she could. When she done her washing, I told you before, sex, I didn't know what sex was, nobody knew. My mother used to wash her clothes, no washing machine or anything, just a scrubbing board. And when she was ironing them, she hung them up to dry on a clothesline across the ceiling. And she would never shove her knickers on the clothesline. That was a Puritan, you know.
That's bizarre,
that was a Puritan.
So did your father, did he do nothing in the house?
No. The men, whenever you seen the men were sitting, talking to you, because we're like this, playing dominoes every day in the pub. My dad was, took any kind of job, no such thing. What did he do? I think I seen one of his lines with a slater roofer. It wasn't a slater, it was a roofer, Ken. He was in the Merchant Navy and he went to Canada and America and a stoker, a wee fella with muscles, Ken. I like enough of wee brothers and sisters in Montreal, Ken. Didn't know about them. I'm trying to get in touch with them now for my birthday. He just went for his drink, and all seafaring men were.
Where did your mum and dad meet, Tommy? Do you know?
I think my mother regretted that. I'd rather not talk about that. My mother was put into a home. Her mum and dad were taken from her because they were drinking in those days, and they did that. just came and took the children and put them in, and she had 2 brothers, and my mother was the oldest, and she looked after them. My granny died at 40. She was burnt to death, sitting at the fire. In those days, there was no safety. No safety whatsoever. And my mother was put into a home with her sister, my Auntie Jessie, and went to that place in Aberdeen. We got a bad name with the nuns. They were in there and abused. I mean, they must have been abusing them, right, left and centre. And she came in, and I think that's when she met my dad. Every time I seen my dad, but a nice chap.
Yeah.
Talk away and sing and dance, kind of wanted to do that. But no, as soon as the drink came in, they took over. And then there was nothing. I had no guidance from my dad. And none of my mates had either.
Is that right?
I look at them, none of them had any. Some men were family orientated, but that was your mother, your dad, and away drinking. Because women weren't allowed into their domain.
No.
Pub. I went to there, and the opposite school from me was opposite in the Glen Street, up in Fountain Bridge, Stowcross. And we used to go there for our dinner and that. And you know, we never had a fight, one Catholic against another, Protestant. Never. We just lived because we were bairns. Age 4, I think, you got into nurseries. There were no nurseries, they called them that. There were one up the Vennel, and had a big sign on the door. And I often wondered what it meant, because nobody told me. And he had on the door, Kindergarten, German. Kinder, K-I-N-T-E. And it was up there till I was a young man. Kindergarten, didn't know what it was.
No.
Well, it must be a special place. Yeah. That was up the Vennel.
I know.
And there's a wee place over there, Weems Place. People used to live up there. On the right and the left. Took you up in the light and everything. And they were all the same. All the same room and kitchen. And you had to share it out. And in the bed, but we were all in the bed, 5 and 6 in a bed in the bedroom. No light. Your light was coming up for the wall like a swan's neck with gas.
Right.
And you lit a mantle. Well, the mantles were about threepence. But if you broke one for a weekend, you were finished. Because you had no light in the house, your mother had no money.
No.
And the same as accumulator for your wireless. You had an accumulator, and you had to go every Friday to get charged. And it cost you maybe a penny or tuppence. And it closed on a Friday night, and if you missed Saturday and Sunday, you were told, and you know in certain terms.
Where did you go to get your accumulator charged? Where did you go?
The upper bow, the west bow. There were a wee radio shop. A radio beginning. Big radio was coming into it, kind of an accumulator in. And a wee shop opened, and they charged them. And they had the accumulators all fixed, lined up with tubes into them. And your name was on it, you know. And you went up and you carried it in a wee. But the thing is this, I think because it was happening to us, we knew more about it. Some of my mates were talking. My mates always said the same thing to me. They'd seen their mother crying because they had no money. They had no money for the food. And I mean, women weren't carrying on, but once women seen, they're just leaving out bairns and everything. And I remember when I was a young man, a kiddie and all, there were murders committed there. The West Bow, and then 75 Grassmarket, it was a lodging house. Right, Irishmen, Welshmen, everything in it. Some well-educated men there left home, nobody knew where they were, living in there. 9 pence a night for your bed. And I was a bunk. And you had wee partitions. And you were in your partition at night, and you daren't leave anything lying. It was away.
There must have been some incredible characters in the Grassmarket.
Oh, there were, were some badgins. You say take a shirt off and fight in the street. Shirt off, Ken, I'm a better man than you and that. And I was a good runner, Ken. I was away up the road. I was off. But that's what they were. And if you were a hard man, you weren't hard for long, because there's always somebody better. Always somebody better, no matter what it is, you know. And you only learn by your mistakes. That's how you learn. Anyway, I went to school, in All Saints School, that was opposite. And they were very good. And Tony Dimambro used to come with the ice cart and sell it. And then the Italians opened at ice cream shops, fish shops. And they were open to 11 o'clock at night. Mostly the chip shops. Now, I was talking to a man called Lanny.
Oh, yeah.
You know Lanny Dante? Yeah. Oh, he was a character. I was talking to him like I'm talking to you. I was going to cup me coffee with him. He had a shop up in the south side, and his grandson married a film star secretary, and was splashed over the news.
Oh, right. I didn't know that.
Name? I think it was the first film star to show the nipple doing it again.
Oh.
I never saw it, but I'm looking for it again. He married her, but he was a waster.
All right.
But he was his grandson. He had money. He must have been over in Italy. I don't know, Italian. And I was talking to him one day, and he turned to me. I said, how are you doing? I was a young man. And I said to him, how are you doing? And he said, oh, I said, I'm doing well. He said, but the young ones won't carry on. They won't work till 11 o'clock at night.
No.
There's nobody works till 11 o'clock at night. The Italians, Easter Road was full of them. Stenhouse out, all the way out. Shandon, Orange, ice cream shops. Nice people. But they had to watch themselves, because there are people who didn't like them. But yes, that was me, and I went to school, and we were sitting in the club. We used to sit seats behind each other, but we went higher so you could see the teacher. And we were very, very well educated. So were the nuns. I'll tell you one thing, I got many a slapping of them. We did. If they said anything, they gave them. Brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal.
But did you enjoy school, Tommy?
No.
No.
But I didn't dislike it. I knew it was an advantage, even though I was a bairn. And I knew it because I learned some stuff. And the stuff I learned in my head, rubbish, again, like that game, Doctors. It came in my head, and I knew it, and I've done it, and I've been there. That's as far as I go. But the education was very good, because there were some clever boys there.
Was there?
Oh, I sat beside a wee chap called Hughie Gilmartin. He'll be dead now. I mean, his family will be away. And he was sitting beside me at school. And we used to get him on. He was only a wee fella, and I'm wee, so you'll ken what size he was. And he lived in Glen Street. And I was in the army. I said, well, an incident, and was home on leave. And I went into a pub. I was near drinking, but I took a half pint and I was looking for a fight right away. And this was Tommy Carson. He said, we're at school together. I says, Christ. He was an English filly. But I was friends with him at school. I said, how you doing? Because we're different people, Irish, English, French.
Really?
French were at my school and all.
Really?
And I says, how's Hughie Gilmartin? Oh, he says, Tommy, he went to the Air Force as a pilot. I says, Christ, he couldn't find his way to the toilet. And usually that's what you say. And he says to me, he was brought down, Tommy. He's away.
Oh, dear.
Young man.
Yeah.
He'd never been in an airplane in my life.
No.
And yet he was killed in RAF. Can't just put anybody.
Yeah.
They were over Edinburgh the first night they watched that again. So anyway, that was All Saints. I went to them. Was I going to tell you? That was a tatty house, because I told you that.
Yes.
The lorry picked him up about 6 in the morning, took him to the fields, and I think they gave him a cup of tea and a sandwich. Brought him home at 4 o'clock. Because you know the howker, you know how you spell howker?
Yep.
You know, the lorries were just lorries with no canopies or nothing on them. In fact, before that was a horse and the cart.
You'll remember the horse and the cart vividly.
Yes, we did. They had, you called them the dung cart, because they took the waste. Came round and got the waste. Because they had what you call garde-lou.
Right.
And they tossed stuff over the windows at 8 o'clock at night. And what they did was a French word. You know, I've read this, you understand that? You've got them. You'd open your window, parcel up and toss you over the window and shout, garde-lou, look out. Because if they burst, you were covered in.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Well, anyway, they had the dung carts, and with a big cart, a horse-drawn cart, Clydesdales, drawn the cart because they were heavy. You just stood, an open cart. Then you went to, that's how they lifted their waste food. You put it out, you had no buckets, you had no money to pay for a bucket. You got nothing for the corporation unless you worked in it.
Was there any horse troughs in the Grassmarket? Horse troughs.
What?
The trough.
Yes, in the top of Grassmarket was a toilet, a gents' toilet. And next to that, they built a police where you opened the door and
Oh, like the police
Send
box.
the Black Maria,
Yeah.
you know, yes, sir. At the back, you know where the Covenanters is?
Aye.
In front of there, coming up the Grassmarket. Now, you know what that was for? That was what you called working horses. Milk, the brewery, anything where a horse was working, and they were up every morning, because if you a sleeper, they woke you up, because the clatter going through the empty streets, the horses, and the horses came up. Now, those horses were in Grove Street, in the back of the Palladium.
Yeah.
They were there. Now, they used to come from there and come in. Every one of them brewery horses, kind of Clydesdale, barrels full of beer, because it was all beer. A stream running from Gilmer Place right down into Holyrood. And the one comes from a meadow. The meadow's water into there for the grass and that. So that's what a brewery needs. And they were all breweries, were Youngers, McEwen's, Morrison's, Campbell, Hope and King. I remember my dad came in one day. Where have you been, Davy? My mother says. He says, I was lying down there and nobody picked me up, he says. My mother said words to the effect of, what do you mean nobody picked you up? I said, there were 3 men holding me down. Who were they? Campbell, Hope and King, the brewery. It was steaming. Yeah, but that was the thing that happened. But anyway, they were called working horses. And they came from their stables, well looked after. They had boys looking after them. They came through the Grassmarket to get the trock. And they got their drink. And when they were coming back at night to the stables, they come through the market again and had a drink. And when you were in the Palladium, if you were in doing a show at night and any horses were out, when they were coming back, you heard walking up the ramp to the stable.
Amazing.
I mean, the things you did. And what we used to do was, you went to a fish shop, the Italians, and you had no money. You got some newspapers, took them in, and they gave you a bag of chips for them. Because they wanted paper to wrap them up. But anyway, that was my childhood. And my sister, she was a girl. She was at St Thomas of Aquin School. That was a Catholic school up in Lawrison Place. She went there because she won a bursary at school. She got £2.50 to help her. My mother said, get out and work. You had to. There's nowhere to help you. Nobody helped you. Aye, my mother said that minute. My mother was a quite an intelligent woman. Well, she wasn't afraid of dying drunk. She'd never have married him. The kid went to school with a good school. The rooms had 41 at least in it, each one of the girls, and they were all educated. Now, I was talking about games.
Yes.
I've got them ready for you.
Good. Tell us.
Now, the games. The boys used to play football. Football, no football. Football. Kick the can. Kick the can, kick you away and all run away in the head. They called that Hesse. You hid in stairs. You ran away and somebody had to find you. And they came in and you were always standing with a youngster and kind of about 3-year-old.
So Hesse, you said?
Aye,
Hesse.
Hesse. You Hesse, hide and go seek.
Right. Okay.
Hesse, hide and go seek.
Right.
And leapfrog. You used to bend down, touch your toes, and you used to leap over your shoulder. You play that?
I remember that.
That was a famous one. That was the boys. Bulls. Marbles. Bulls. Bruce and the Boon. That was the Frenchman on a horse with a stick. You go on your pal's back. Like say me being small, go on your back. And somebody else would go on his pal's back and would fight you for the back. And it was called Bruce and the Boon.
Bruce and the Boon.
And Bruce and the Boon. One was Scotch and the other one was Bruce.
Right.
And they fought in the medieval days.
Oh, yeah.
Bruce and the Boon. Liney. The boys, the men were just as bad. Were ice kent were no job standing it under the light singing. Some of them were good. Used to harmonise, you know, really. And we used to listen to a Sunday night. Because my window was beside a light at the corner of the bow. And about half a dozen of them would be saying, down by the old mill stick and on, were hot stuff. You must have they're singing again. Ah, good. 9 times out of 10, none of them were working. Because one of them was a bookie. They were a bookie. They wanted to play a game. So they stood during the day. And they'd be standing in the street. And there were slabs on the ground. And they'd mark a slab with a indelible pencil. And the one there. And take the heel of the shoe because you had a sole on it, and you put it on for save the heel going down.
Oh, yeah.
The rubber. And you put the rubber on there, and you slid it along to get on the line here. And it was called liney.
Never heard that before.
Aye. They took the heel off their shoe, because you had a wee, you put it on with a small nail.
Yeah, yeah.
And one of them would take the heel off a shoe and play liney.
Never heard that.
And used to play for a halfpenny penny. The one who would walk about maybe 4pence. They were rich. He could go out that night, you know. And that was the point, but they had more. See, you made up your own job. The wee fella, Frankie Smith, lived down the road from me. He signed on for Celtic when he was 12. But during the day when he went to school with me, heading the ball against the wall, 1,000. 1,000 he done.
Yeah.
I know personally because I was there. Just before the war, he died. And that's what they're dying with now.
That's right. Yeah. Damaging their brain.
He could do 1,000, no bother. And then Monkey Mary, she's a donkey. And he had a man from France. He had a bear.
A bear?
A bear. And he used to come in from Corstorphine. That's where he started. I don't know how he got here. And what he had was a big metal ring round the bear's neck. And that chain. And that's how he controlled it. Because when he pulled a certain way, it stuck into its neck and he had the bear. Same as Hercules.
Yeah, yeah.
I was, when I was doing selling stuff for a commercial firm, and I was on the same stand next to Andy Robin, who was the wrestler, heavyweight champion, and he had Hercules in a big cage, and it was a big bear, of course. It was a pet. It would have killed you or me.
Oh.
He used to wrestle it. Says to me one day, "You are going?" I said, "You must be joking. You are going?" And his wife, Maggie, she swore like a trooper. Then, and I see he died just a couple of years ago.
Did he?
A wee fat fellow, a good wrestler.
Yeah.
And he could bounce.
Right.
And he used to go around. He went to America to films.
Did he?
He was in film his bear,
Right. Yeah.
using his bear,
Yeah.
because he was domesticated.
Yeah, that's right.
But he didn't get out his cage. He had a big cage. He lives up in Scone.
That's right.
Up there.
Yeah.
You go, now, the girls, they played skipping ropes. Loved that, because you seen the skirt coming up over their knees. It was great. We all enjoyed it. Used to sing, the wind blows high like a diamond. Go on, hand, get you. Oh, Ken, you're watching. And then we had balls thrown against the wall. What they would do was they'd throw the ball, put it at the back, throw it between their legs, hit the ball and catch it. But anyway, we had the blind man's buff, you know, that was a good no. They'd put something in your ken, you're good, you're walking about and you're... And then, overhead ball, the girls used to form a line, maybe 6 of them behind you, and throw a ball over their head to the next one.
Oh, right.
And they'd toss it up, and it became a game. Playing when we had competition. Overhead ball, you call it, and the girls, they were hot. Can they would just, look, go on, hand, get it. Aye, overhead ball, I was there. We had Bad Green concert. Kind of wasn't a bad singer, you want to hear me? And you mind the Weston's Biscuit Factory? Well, I done my first concert when I was 16, but I'd been in competitions before. I had a good singer when I was younger. I worked in Weston's. He gave a squadron of Spitfires to the government, yes. And they asked me to do a show, and I done a show. Lots of people famous, lots of them. Finnegan, Hibbs, Horsburgh, Jimmy Logie played for Arsenal, all famous people. But anyway, that was a lot for me.
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this podcast with Tommy. You can find more like it on our website, www.livingmemory.org.uk. Or if you have a story you'd like to share, why not pop in and see us at the Wee Museum of Memory, Ocean Terminal, Leith, or at the Centre, Livingston. Until the next time, take care.